Order. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Filarski, would you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is roll call. Mr. Moran is here. Mr. Rathel.
Here.
Mr. Manns is excused. Mr. Filarski. Here. Mr. Hornby.
Here.
Mr. Loftus.
Here.
Mr. Isle.
Here.
Next item is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a couple amendments to it.
Sure.
So I'd like to add an action item 2, which is the approval of the Michigan Department of Transportation Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act Agreement, which is in our packet now. And then also, because of that, I'd like to change the order of our presentations, move the draft ACIP up to presentation 1 and Hall's Flying Service to 2.
Is there support?
I'll second Mr. Athel's motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by Mr. Loftus, to amend the agenda as we are adding action item number 2 and reversing the presentations based on adding that action item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Move on to our presentations. Our first item is the draft ACIP. Janelle.
Hi, good evening, everyone. The first thing I'm going to talk about really is the action item number 2. And I'm going to talk about this only because it kind of pertains to the airport capital improvement plan that, as you know, Mr. Loftus and I met with MDOT last week to talk about the airport capital improvement plan. So this has been an ongoing discussion. And the agreement for the ADJOURN grant just was sent over on Friday. So I'd like to share with you guys what this grant is going to entail. This is going to be a taxiway Charlie, Echo, and Foxtrot joint repair for both the design and the construction. And the total amount of the grant is $448,000 and $788,000. And if you look for the ADJOURN grant, the state of Michigan is actually going to be covering our portion of it. So from a local standpoint, this is going to be $0 at cost to us. So any questions with that?
Well, Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rathel.
just a comment. I mean, this is incredible, Janelle. I mean, we're getting all this work done for 0 cost to us. And I don't remember a project this big that this has ever happened. So
Why don't you negotiate that?
Yeah, it's called
probably,
ADJOURN.
probably because you and Brian working together on it. Wow, that's huge. Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that.
You're
That
welcome.
is commendable.
Thank you.
Janelle, when is the work going to get, when is it scheduled to be start and completed?
Spring and summer of 2026. So we'll kind of talk about the other projects that are, after our discussion, I think we'll probably move forward in 2026 is how I understood it. So, but I'll continue on and how that process works. So as you know, we met on October 15th for the MAP meeting. And during the MAP meeting, we reviewed the priorities, the project justification, and what are the eligibility requirements for any project that's done through the AIP funding, which is otherwise known as the Airport Capital Improvement Plan. So it includes the projects that you're looking to do over the next 5 years. So we submitted a draft, which you guys have in front of you in your packet that was sent over. We discussed the different projects, why we're prioritizing them the way that we're going to prioritize them with the state, and what they look for when they're allocating money to different airports. So when they're looking at the airports and how they allocate money, just a couple of things to take in mind is that we are one of 95 NIPIAS airports, which fall under the block grant state. And we compete for state apportionment for all of these grant applications that we move forward. And the state helps to justify any grant that you receive during that 5-year program. So, but the other thing to take into consideration is that there are 224 public airports that are also competing in most cases for discretionary funding, which is a different bucket, and when you're applying for these grants. So I'll kind of go in a little bit further discussion as we go down with that. So a few things that they like to know, that what's happening at your airport. What are you doing? How are you trying to position yourself to sustain yourself and to be self-sustainable for the duration of existence? And so lately I have been working a lot with the AAM sector, which is advancement in air mobility. And so I've really put myself out there. I've gone down to the Michigan Mobility Meetup, which was on the Detroit Smart Lab parking lot. They had an event down there. They had a Move America event. And MEDC held a mix event all during early October to put us in a position where we're looking at what is our AAM readiness and moving forward. During these events, and I'll kind of come back around in what I've been doing in order to capitalize on this new DTE grant that, is still in the works. Just some of other, opportunities that when looking at development, I did go to the Brownfield Conference and to try to figure out how to capitalize on incentivizing some of these other startup companies. And we work with a lot of local people as well. So they look at what we're doing at the airport. Halls has set up the EA chapter, as you all know, for Chapter 457. We had a fly-in, which was a destination trip from a bunch of people from other states, hopefully to come back again. We have the NASGI. One of our partnerships for the DTE grant will be Ion Dynamics. We do a lot of public safety training, including the fire department. And then our partnership with the Michigan Flight Museum for the History on Wheels, military participation through that History on Wheels. We did the Aviation Day with participation from the high school. And we have the flight school here at Halls. So moving forward, so when MDOT is looking at how projects will be approved and what types of fundings are available and how are we going to get these projects completed. So they break it down into a couple of different sections. One is, what are your facility goals? How do you prioritize your facility goals? So MDOT provides us with a pavement management program in order to meet grant assurance number 11 with a PCI program, which is a pavement condition index. So they provide this data that says, how are you as Grocio going to prioritize all of your pavement? And then they look at what is your UAS survey data through the state, which they come and inspect it. One was done just recently in 2025. And then they want to know, what are we doing to sustain? What is your AAM? How, where are you from your airspace and your emerging aviation? And then how are you going to fund it? So when they're looking at your Michigan Aviation System Plan and what are the development standards, they want you to look, okay, how are you maintaining your primary surfaces? And that's obviously our runway 422, which will kind of go into that a little bit. I'll talk about the PCI, our navigation aids, what is our year-round access and our snow removal, and some of the other important aspects when they're looking at how they're going to dedicate funding to your airport. So with that being said, as I mentioned, that MDOT, as the state of Michigan, every year they provide us with a pavement management program in order to make sure that we're meeting the needs of a grant assurance number 11 through this PCI report. So this is the PCI report that's provided to us, and within this report, it gives you how many square footage, what the current PCI is, and then they want you as the airport manager and your consultant, in this case CNS, to kind of break it down and say, okay, what projects would you guys like to move forward with, and why do you want to move forward with those particular projects over the next 5 years? So I sat down with CNS, we looked at all of this, and we said, okay, we're going to break this down. If we, obviously from a preventative maintenance standpoint, that was why we did the crack seal local program with 422, as you remember. We ended up paying another, I don't remember what the number is off the top of my head, in order to pay that company to complete the linear square feet that wasn't included. So that was our local share for that. So I said, we're also been looking at our A2 connector, which we'll talk about. We're looking at the taxiway lanes between the hangars. And then we're also looking at the apron in front of hangar 1. And then what are we doing about 1-7? So all of these conversations were had. Why are we choosing to do the projects we're doing? So they say, okay, well, what are you doing from a facility standpoint to allocate funds? What have you guys donated, or what have you guys put forth for these facility goals that you guys have? So in 2024, 2025, we roughly put $83,000 into pavement corrections or tree removal and so on and so forth. And this is just a breakdown of what those costs look like. So it was $10,000 for the additional 18,000 linear feet for the participation in that crack seal program. And then although which we're talking about that joint seal project, we did pay $38,000 up front for that, for the design. So that is money that we have already spent, which will be reimbursed to us when we receive that grant funds. And then they say, okay, well, if you have obstructions, what are you guys doing to move obstructions? Last year we spent about $30,000 in tree removal, mainly on Round Island, and then at the beginning of runway 4. And then there was some areas off of Grow Row where we also, mitigated some, tree removal. And as always, we have the Phragmites that we have to deal with at the end of 4, which is an ongoing battle, which we'll have to do forever. But, and as far as like our annual weed control, that's a preventative maintenance that they also look at. Like, what have we spent as far as labor and supplies for that over the last year is about $15,000. So they say, okay, well, what are you guys doing from goals and performance measures for ongoing for your navigational aids? Last year, we did replace quite a few panels out there that was actually donated from PTK. They gave us some of those panels, but that was pointed out on our state inspection that we had last year. So the guys were able to do that. The segmented and circled, which we just actually freshly painted this past year. The AWAS was weed control, insect, blah, blah, blah. And then the rotating beacon, although it was repaired, it wasn't with LED lighting, so it has been a constant maintenance. And then the PAPIs, which we talked about, and we have a subcommittee meeting to address tree removal process, which is in motion currently. And I'm going to touch on this, which I know this is part of my manager report, but one of the things that they look for is how are we sustaining our airport, and what are we doing to continue that sustainability, and how are we kind of thinking outside of the box to hopefully generate more revenue in order to, get some of these projects completed and have the local share to complete big projects such as 1735. So just recently, as you all know, I did apply for a DTE grant, which is Emerging Technologies Fund, although we haven't had the contract yet, but it is something that they're ready to kind of roll this grant out. And what that does is it positions us to say, here we are, we have this space, we want to work with, startup companies that want to be in a position so they can showcase their capabilities, what kind of testing can they do, and how can they utilize Groseal during that 14-month pilot project. And so it gives them a position to gather data in order to help them evolve their companies in this whole brand new AAM space. And recently, Michigan has been really trying to advocate. So Governor Whitmer's office has been advocating. The chief mobility officer, Justine Johnson, has been a lot of these events lately, and they're really trying to push this advancement in aviation. And what is my goal, and with utilizing this DTE grant, is how can we at Groseal incentivize these other Michigan manufacturing companies? Is there something we can do here? And so moving forward, I've been trying to look at what is our readiness in order to position ourselves to, once I have continued conversation, what does our readiness look like moving forward for these emerging drone developers, or even eVTOLs, or so on and so forth. So in the meantime, I've been working with ASX, Airspace Link, New Lab, Beta, NRIDE, some of these startup companies, and trying to figure out where that public-private partnership might be. And then in continuing conversations with them as I can move forward with that. So the next steps will be continuing those conversations and networking with them, and then finalizing that contract with DTE. This is probably the best display. So when MDOT looks at how our funding is awarded to different airports, not only GA airports, but 139 airports, the bigger non-primary and primary airports, they still compete for the discretionary funding. So when you're looking at your projects, you want to make sure that you're allocating projects that are within those parameters for each bucket of money, because they're more than likely going to give that discretionary funding bucket, which we're going to end up needing 417, to those primary airports. So they say, okay, Groseal, what are you doing in order to be even in the running for that discretionary funding? And that was why I was giving that example of that DTE grant and how we are moving in that direction of this emerging aviation industry. So breaking down, what projects are we going to do? So CNS and I looked at, all right, we could do this pavement project in front of the T hangars. However, that's going to be $2.7 million. Would that be a priority? So we looked at all, and what is the priority for the state? And how is the state going to help us justify getting all of these funds? So then we looked at this taxiway lane here, this A2 connector, and then this taxiway lane here. So it was decided, with the help of MDOT, that we are going to, from the justification, how it's a priority, to move forward for, I believe it was 2026. Is that what we ended up moving it up to, Brian? For this A2 connector was like 2026, I think, is what they wanted to do. That might be TBD, because we haven't finalized this yet. So, but we decided that we could realistically apply for the grant for this A2 connector based on all of our different funding sources.
Excuse me,
Yep.
Mr. Chair. Janelle, is that engineering in 2026 or the project?
It would be both. So the design is already pretty much completed with just a few little tweaks, because if we remember, when we were doing Taxiway Alpha, the design included that connector. And actually what it included was all of the in front of Hangar Row Charlie. So it would be south of Charlie between this area here. And they were going to redo all of that. But when we got bidding for it, it was way outside of the amount that they were willing to allocate for it. So what they actually ended up doing was they gave us the state apportionment in order to fund that program, or that grant, which was over $5 million. And it was because other airports weren't in a position or weren't shovel ready, and so we were gifted essentially that replacement of that taxiway. And because of that, the way that the bids came in, they were way too high, and it didn't incorporate this intersection right here. So we decided to go back to the drawing board. So we're reusing, to answer the question, we're reusing the design, but this is something we will have to pay out of pocket for the design of this for local share, because they will not fund it again, because they funded it already from the original design from Taxiway Alpha.
And Janelle, that's, if I remember right, wasn't that like 30,000?
I think it was north of 30. It was like, I think it was like $42,000.
42?
Because what I was thinking is that, all right, we're going to get reimbursed for 38, but we're going to have to dish out
right,
42, right?
Did that 42,000 buy again?
The design for this project that we're looking to do in 2026. So one of the conversations we had was this ongoing conversation of what are we doing for the reconstruction of 1735. Couple of good things happened during this meeting. Was the last couple of times they wanted us to complete our land use compliance, which has been complete. And then the other rejustification or reauthorization act that came out, so they have these PIGLs that now include legacy crosswind runways to be eligible for the discretionary competition, essentially. And what they also said is that non-primary public airports or NEPIUS airports can compete for the discretionary funding. So they yep.
You just stop for a second. So would you like to just elaborate more about what that legacy crosswind runway means? That means the runway was formerly classified as a crosswind runway, but due to regulation changes, it no longer meets that criteria, correct?
No, it would be both. I think we meet both the criterias of what is justified, that we justified that it is a true crosswind runway is my understanding. And so we have two things, but now what they're saying is that these legacy crosswind runways, I do think that met the criteria that was once a crosswind runway. It still is a crosswind runway that will be eligible for that. But I think we meet both of those criteria, both it being justified as a true crosswind, and then we also have that legacy, is the way I understood it.
Okay, yeah, because it seems to me we broached this before and we fought that battle and lost about it being a crosswind runway. So this is.
But Daryl, you're right, okay? And then right about a year after Janelle came, she was able to get it designated again
As a crosswind.
as crosswind.
Okay.
So,
Correct.
yeah, you're exactly right, but Janelle was able to get it designated.
Okay.
So that's what started this whole, we had to get that over that hurdle first.
Correct.
And that was her efforts early on, probably within a year, I think.
Correct.
Okay, so that's a
I'd
big
like
win
to
that
ask
should
a
be noted.
question. I don't understand what the significance of being a crosswind or not being a crosswind runway is in all of this.
I think it becomes the state. I'm going to let
It's-
Daryl tackle this one.
Yeah, it's basically a safety issue. If,
Sure, you're
yeah,
getting wind across the sides of
Yeah,
it.
an airplane can only handle so much crosswind, and by having the additional runway at a different angle, a plane may be able to land on one runway where it can't land on the other, I guess, in layman's terms.
So it has some capacity on the funding. I mean, what do we want to support?
Yeah, we have to meet the criteria, for down the line getting this runway reopened. So, yeah, correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions on 17? And this was our draft for the original ACIP, but after discussions on Wednesday, they got moved all around based on funding availability, how we're going to move forward with our next 5-year plan. So Brian's going to help me out here because I think the way we ended up doing it in 2026, we're going to replace the beacon for the LED, but it's the beacon only. And then the A2 reconstruction, which was that project we were talking about earlier. And then as far as moving down the line, I think what we're going to look into doing is the runway protection zone analysis, which would be the runway length analysis for 1735. But I don't remember what the years were exactly on this because it's still in that draft status right now. So once that's all been, confirmed with MDOT and we move forward, I'll bring the final to you guys. But that's kind of where we are right now with that. Everything is still up in the air. But it did look like they're willing to continue conversations with helping us get that discretionary funding from 17. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Are there any questions for Janelle?
Let me ask,
Comments?
let me ask one if I may. The apron, how far out are we on that? And what are we going to do in the meantime to keep it usable?
I'm going to head up to this,
in front of
this slide here. So are you looking at the T-hanger
Yeah,
over,
in front
over
of the
here?
T-hangers, so those are in pretty bad shape, as you know.
Correct.
We've had some failure over there.
I think that is a conversation that we could have. It's a great question. If we want to do individual panel replacements and come the upcoming budget year, that maybe we could allocate panel replacements, which might be, because if we pay for panel replacements on our own dollar, then we don't have to meet those FAA requirements.
Right.
We can do them locally and, work with our local contractor to do that, which may be money saving from that standpoint. And we can go out there and pick those panels that probably need the most TLC and take it from there. But the other thing that we probably should look at, it's a great question, is looking at what would it be to have a company come out and look at the crack sealing for not only this area here, but maybe we do it in 2 phases where we pay local share for crack seal for the preventative maintenance of that. It's definitely for conversations to be had.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make it known that it's going
Yep.
to be addressed. So.
Yep. No,
Does
good
this
point.
need to be done in the near future? I mean, winter is coming. I'm thinking about the crack seal before that. Am I making sense, or is there something I'm missing?
Well, I just don't think we budgeted for that
Okay.
crack seal on this year's budget.
So that would
But
be
I
for the
guess that's
future.
open for conversation for the commission to make decisions on that.
Janelle, so when we look at for our budgets for next year, like panel replacement and other things, I mean, should you and Daryl work together on those projects, whatever they are, okay? And then that way, when we get into our budget, we can make sure we can look at all of that. Does that make sense, Daryl?
Oh, absolutely. I think we got to
Yeah.
set some money aside for that because we know it's going to happen, and we've got rock and debris starting to, where that could cause an issue.
Yeah,
so-
you're right there, right? I mean, you know it better
Oh,
than anyone, so.
that's right.
So, I think,
Better than you
So-
want to know.
Yeah.
but it is good to, if you two can get together and come up with some budgets, because, believe it or not, I mean, we're already coming into 2026 pretty soon, and these things are going to be discussed, so. And then with 1735, the monies that we're going to need there, and then some other expenditures that, we're going to be talking about here in the next few weeks or so. I think it's important that we get that because, those are priority one, right? Aviation's priority one. I mean, we're an airport first, right? So safety at this airfield is paramount, and keeping infrastructure. And the reality is, if we don't do it, then we fall behind on our grants, right?
Correct.
And this is why we've been so successful, you, Janelle, for doing an incredible job. I mean, like, you know, with with MDOT and the FAA, which is a weird relationship between those two organizations, right? So yeah, I think that's important. So that'd be great if you guys could do that.
We can do that. Any other questions?
Hearing none. Great job, Janelle. A lot of good information and successful on another grant, so that's great. Great news.
Thank you.
Thanks. With that, we'll move on to our next presentation, which is Hall's Flying Service. Could you introduce yourself, please?
I will. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Matthew Varga on behalf of Halls. I am the ultimate successor to Halls, so just so you guys know why I'm here and Ron's not up here presenting. I want to start with, Janelle, that was great. It's awesome to hear that there's some good things moving forward with the airport and the maintenance of it, especially when it comes to the safety of everything. So that's important. I'll keep it short for you guys, but I did want to talk about and put in front of you what we are doing and what we're building towards. Give you a little personal background of mine. I'm a very young entrepreneur, obviously, coming up and have a big guild towards education and education of our youth. So as taking over Halls is all about the education of the young kids for me, and getting them involved in aviation and getting them involved in many different things, but also being able to provide for them in a way that, you know, not everybody can afford to go to flight school somewhere and do everything. So it's very important to me that we're able to provide for these students in our area an education and an opportunity in this. So with that, the only way for Halls to do that is to operate under a traditional business model to be able to afford to provide different things. So as we move forward, our expansion at Halls plans to be under a business model to afford education. So I just want to make that very clear up front that this is a education-driven business model for everybody around. Currently, obviously, we operate the flight school out of here and being one of the biggest users of the airport. And we thank you guys for partnering and, you know, allowing us that ability to do that. Ron and I have partnered with many different local consortiums, one being the Downriver DCTC Consortium, RISA, Monroe Community College, different programs that are guiding education through schools, as well as many of the high schools around Groseal, Gibraltar, Flat Rock, where they are now starting to drive students into aviation from the high school level, which is something we haven't seen in our area. We saw it in the past, back like when I was in high school, 20 years ago almost now, where they were doing maintenance in high school, but there was no flying being done for high school students. So we're trying to guide that. You know, we've studied what the industry is saying is going to be a need for pilots in the next 10, 15 years based on the Boeing studies and the FAA studies of everything going out. And, you know, we fall in, if you look at under Wayne County alone, we fall in an area that is, how do I say, you know, kind of suppressed, if you will, from a standpoint of not having the resources and funding to do different things of education where it costs more money, if you will. You know, a lot of kids can go to auto shop and become a maintenance technician on a vehicle, but they can't afford to go to pilot school and become a pilot in the long run. So guiding that program through the schools, the high schools and everything, and trying to get these kids an opportunity to go to something that they want to go to is very important to us. We have done a lot to build different relationships in our local community, whether it's through the new EAA chapter or reopening of the EAA chapter here, which I think is great. And if you look at the things that are done, you know, with the pancake fly-in now, tomorrow we're doing a fly-in movie or, you know, drive-in movie, whichever may be great. Getting the community involved is going to be beneficial to the airport either way, whether it's just learning how to fly or helping sustain the airport, because if the community is not involved, it's not going to help you guys make your decisions that you have to make if they're not supportive of it. So I think driving that community involvement as, from a business standpoint for us and as your guys' standpoint as a city government, it's very important. I personally would love to see this airport thrive. It's been around for a long time. It's got a lot of history with it. And there are things that are missing here. So my ultimate goal is to continue to build, from our standpoint, different things. We just recently started partnering with a couple supply companies for parts supplies to get people to be able to come in here and buy supplies. There's nowhere really local to buy small aircraft, general aviation supplies around here. You either got to go down to Toledo or Tiffin or up to Pontiac if you can get anything from Pontiac. So we're building that here. We want to start getting that to drive people into the airport. Repairs and inspections and IAs and everything. From that standpoint, I would like to open ultimately, and guys, I'm just giving you a general broad overview of what my goals are for the airport. Get that stuff driven into the airport. I think the more traffic we drive into the airport for the general aviation side, the better it's going to be for everybody. I think it's going to help Janelle a lot with the things that she's trying to accomplish with the FAA and MDOT and everything as well. As you guys know, they definitely look at the traffic in the airport to determine how much funding they're going to give you. And if it's not there, the traffic's not there, then why would they give it to you? Outside of that, we've done many different things on the Hall side to build relationships with the FAA and everything. I spent, about 2 months ago now, I went and spent a day at the Detroit Metro Tower, meeting with ground control, tower control over there, as well as our sector airspace control. Amazing opportunity, not just for me personally and professionally, but also for the airport to hear what they did and did not know about Grozio, because we haven't really had any local interaction with them. And they were excited to see that. And they're also excited to come out and be a part of our community as well. So I'm going to continue that relationship and get them out here as we have, FAST meetings or EAA meetings, and allow them to interact with us to continue to drive safety in our area. Honestly, gentlemen, it was a great opportunity, and I think it's very great for anybody that flies out of here to have a conversation with them and talk to them and know what they're there for us. My ask is this, recently you guys approved a lease for us for Hangar 2. And I am fine with the lease with one issue. Go back to July, we were given about 9 days notice that the previous tenant was going to be moving out. And we were subletting half of that hangar from the previous tenant. When I met with people about it, the initial ask was for the rent to go, almost double of what the previous tenant was, actually over double what the previous tenant was paying. And I was kind of appalled by that, to be honest with you. For one, what we've been doing at the airport, and it kind of felt a little disrespectful. But ultimately, we did agree on some stuff, and you guys did agree to that. With that said, I did have an issue with August, like I said, because it was a 9-day notice. Hey, this person's moving out. Boom. Here we go. August 1, you guys are starting taking over. So the only issue that I have with that is I would like to go back to amending that lease agreement for August, which was supposed to start August, right? Yeah, August 1st. To move that to September 1st, and we will just retro pay that August, the previous tenant, basically, because we were not in there in a full capacity that we are going forward in there now. So I just want to put that on your guys' minds as I continue conversations with Janelle, and we can kind of work through that. We don't want to leave Grozio Airport as, Hall's Aviation. That's not our goal by any means. We want to stay here and continue to thrive and continue to build everything here. We want to continue to grow the educational opportunities here and continue to drive people coming here for many different things. Airport Inn just opened back up, a great opportunity for somebody to come in and get their $100 hamburger, if you will. And different things that you guys have going forward. I think it's a great opportunity for everybody. So, like I said, short and sweet, but that's kind of where we are. If you guys have any questions for me and what we're doing, and
I will open it up for any questions or comments.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Rathel.
So, Matt, I have to ask you, and I have some other comments too, but you said that you were quoted a number of rent that you were appalled by and that you took personally offense to. Could you tell me who quoted you that number? And
Yeah, I mean, I think, and as you were there present in that meeting, I think the initial number was $5,000 a month for rent of Hangar 2, and to know what the previous tenant was, but to come in and over double that was, I mean, a little.
So during that meeting that I was at, did at any time somebody suggest that you had to pay $5,000, or was that meeting a meeting to say, hey, we need you guys, we really care about you, we need to make this thing work?
I'm
and
not.
And a lower number was given to you?
Yeah, a lower number was definitely given, and a lower number was ultimately negotiated. I'm not taking that away. My point to that is I just feel like for the biggest user of the airport to come back and say, okay, here, boom, we're just going to do this to you guys, knowing that, you know, we needed.
So we sat down and we negotiated fairly, correct? Would you believe that that was a fair negotiation?
I would say we had a good negotiation.
Okay, so we negotiated a very good deal, which really in the end turned out to be only about a $300 increase for the airport in revenue from what we were getting from the hangar and what we were getting from Hall's front office.
And I'm not contesting the lease going forward that we agreed to. It's just that 1 month, that was my question based on the circumstances arising to how the previous tenant came out
Right.
and our transition into it. That's my only contention to that.
Right, so it was negotiated and it was agreed upon by you and also accepted by this commission that we start August 1st, correct?
I don't recall exactly what those words were.
That was the negotiate, and that's what the commission ended up approving, right?
Okay.
All right, I'll just leave that there, and then I'm going to go back to what I wanted to say before you claimed that you were appalled by our negotiations.
I
You may
didn't.
like this or not, but you remind me a lot of myself. I've been around here 30 years. You said everything that I've said for 30 years. Everything. We got to get the community involved, right? We have to have a strong, safe airport. We have to have a growing airport. The history of this airport in recent history, certainly from the last 22 years, well, 25 years, it's already 2025, was to bring this township hall here, to bring people down, to have Island Fest here, to have memorial gardens and historical preservation, to bring people down, to have events at this airfield that Janelle runs as far as community involvement of different activities in the hangar, activities in and around the airport like races, running races, bike races. It's very important. And the reason it was very important is because years ago, a long time ago, 30 years ago, Mr. Palmer was around then. The residents along this airfield came to our meetings and wanted to shut the airport down because it was not a community asset. The Commerce Park was a dumping ground for garbage, toxic waste, the amount of garbage that we had in this place. This place was not a very nice place. And we have been working very, very, very hard for the community to accept it and love it and come down here. And you see people every day down here in the museum, the township hall, all doing it. I've always said, without exception, we are an airport first. Before anything else, we are an airport. The amount of assets and revenues that this commission has put into aviation is commendable. It is nothing that we will ever shy away from, and we continue to do it, all right? In that meeting that we had, I said to you, Matt, I'm so excited because we need a business like what you are bringing to it. You are a young entrepreneur, you're very intelligent, you're a hard worker. I knew all that within 10 minutes after I met with you. I called every one of these guys and said, this guy's a rock star, man. This is who we need. I told Janelle, I said, bring this guy close, have him be part of the operation of this airfield and not be contentious and not be so full of animosity towards any individual here or what this commission has ever done. I'm only one vote in this commission. Trust me, Janelle works with every single one of these guys all the time, not just me, okay? And I'm gonna speak for myself. I will do everything I can to support you, Matt. I want you to succeed. I was so excited when we had an EAA chapter, hopefully a real one, because we had them in the past, they just, okay? I was excited when we had pancake breakfast. I've
There's
worked,
many more things to come with that.
I've worked thousands of hours putting on events for communities down here, Michigan Jets, bringing Nylafest. I mean, it's all to bring people down. We, years ago, wanted to get a drive-in movie. I didn't know you were having one tomorrow. But those are things that we have been talking about, me personally have been talking about, because it brings the airport into the community in a very positive way where people are proud of what we have.
If I can interrupt you for a minute, not knowing that we didn't have one tomorrow. Going forward, my goal is to come to the monthly meetings and kind of advise of what we are planning and doing on a month-to-month basis. If not me, somebody to represent me. Because I think it's going to be important to build a great relationship with you guys, for you to know where we are as well as what we're doing for the community going forward.
Yeah, and I tell you, I would, my phone would be always available to talk to you about anything that you need, and I'll advocate and I'll fight and I'll do whatever I can, okay, as only one vote in this commission, to make things and move things along. But make no mistake about it, I love aviation. I've always fought for aviation, and I've looked at this whole facility as an airport first before anything else, right? So with that said, I'm gonna just comment on your ask. We negotiated fairly. You agreed to it after coming back and saying, take it or leave it. You came back and said, we're going back and forth, and you said, take this or leave it. Okay? Okay? I'll swallow my negotiating pride and say, you know what, if that's the way he wants to be, we'll do it. Take it or leave it. We'll take it, Janelle, put it in front of the commission, see if they approve it, and they did. And that started August 1st. Now, I'm not in favor of pushing it to September for that reason, and the second reason is you guys were already in the hangar. Jim Daly informed us back in June that he was leaving, and I had conversations with him, and he certainly represented to me that Halls knew that they were leaving.
We did not. It was
Okay? So
literally
you-
9 days when we found out.
So you guys were already in the hangar. And when Jim left, the whole hangar was there, was for you to take over. The other thing is, well, that we let go because we want to work with you guys. We want you guys to be successful. Trust me. Is there was no sublease agreement in place from our last tenant. Okay? But Jim made this arrangement with you guys. We just said, hey, you know what? We'll just let it go, right? Like, we just want this to work. So as you as a business and subsidize are creating a business for education and whatever else, I'm not sure about your profits, or could care less. You know, I hope you make $1 million doing it, right? So are we, because we don't get any taxpayer funding. We don't get anything from anybody except what we can generate as far as revenue is concerned. So I would hope, again, I'm only one vote. This commission might say whatever they say, but I would hope that you, wanting to start out, wanting to go forward, wanting to be part of this, wanting the things that you want. We talked about an FBO at the last meeting. How can we help to do that? So on and so forth. That for the 1 month, just honor the agreement, pay it. Let's move on. You already said take it or leave it one time. Just pay it and move on. That's my opinion.
Mr. Heil.
Thank you. How much money are we talking about?
Well, I mean, if we go back and look at what we were paying under the sublease to what he was paying, you're looking at about $1,300. If you look at the overall agreement, it's about $300. So
How much money do you need with this request of yours?
it's not about the need, it's about the manner in which I felt it was ultimately handled. But that's here nor there. I mean, I think if the airport wants to continue to maintain a relationship with Halls, as Mr. Rathel just said, one of us are going to give on it, right? And it's either going to be us or you guys are who are going to give on this 1 month of an issue. You know, I'm willing to sign this lease, a minimum of 3-year lease, and I think we have a 2-year option to extend in it. You know, that's 5 years for this airport not to have to worry about income from this hangar. So if 1 month of a minuscule amount, really, at the end of the day, is a contention, I feel a little bit different way about it. To me, and not to be disrespectful, but I think it comes back as, okay, maybe you really don't want us here.
You know what? I take offense by that because I just told you we do. And if it wasn't for the fact that you came back and said, take it or leave it on the last negotiations, you said, take it or leave it, and that there were overtures and emails sent out that you were going to move to Monroe, that you were going to pick up everything and go. We have all the communications. If it wasn't for that, Matt, I'd say, you know what? Fine. We're moving forward, right? But it was a take it or leave it on your end. Take it or leave it, flat out, with very clear communications in writing that you guys were going to move, that you were going to leave. So,
I mean, and respectfully, to look at that, we were discussing the monthly rate when I said take it or leave it. Were we not?
the contract.
We were discussing a monthly rate.
Yeah, the contract.
Yeah. So, and we had, in our meeting, we had talked about the whole August thing and the short notice, and you guys both agreed that it was crazy that you even only got such short notice to that. So, look, I don't want to sit here and be contentious and argumentative about it, and I'm going to do what's in the best interest for Halls as well as for the community when it comes down to this. And
Well, hopefully the airport as well.
and ultimately the airport, you know, but that does take into effect whether or not Halls and Grosio Airport can have a non-animosity relationship.
Tell me, if we don't give you this month, you're going to have animosity towards this airport?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I do feel that it's kind of being bullied into this 1 month when we all knew that there was a extremely short notice.
At that point, you were already in the hangar. But anyway, we
yeah.
don't want to argue back.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion here? I'd like to ask a question. And then-
Absolutely.
Are you after $1,300 or $300? What's the
The total would have been $1,300.
Why don't we each go for $625 or whatever the heck it takes to make it go, and forget it? There's not enough here. There's so much that will help you to grow, so much that will help us to grow. It isn't worth fighting for $600 for either one of us.
I agree.
If we do that, we get done with this.
We don't typically negotiate contracts and leases in the public forums at our commission meetings. So
So thank you. I'm just
my
frustrated.
recommendation is that the commission members will give their opinion to Janelle, and at some point, Janelle will contact you with.
And that's all I'm asking for.
Ron, I apologize.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Long.
before we decide, we all sit and decide what hill we want to die on. We both, sorry about my voice, guys. Bring us a proposal for all the members of the board to review. We'll discuss it with Janelle. We can come up with a decision. Bring us a proposal.
That's fair. I mean, we're talking about
negotiating either.
one month.
If
out
he
of
wants
this
to put
holding.
it in writing, what his stance
want
is
it in
as it
writing,
relates to
yes.
that, that's fine.
I can do that.
Do that.
I can have it to you guys in the next couple of days. Outside of that, guys, thank you very much for allowing me.
Let me make
Oh,
a
go ahead.
comment here real quick. So, I will say, I really never imagined, you know, how far you guys would take this flight school from when you took it over. And it's just fantastic to see, you know, a lot of the inroads you've made into the schools. You know, when I started flying when I was a kid, you know, these opportunities weren't there, and it's so wonderful that kids, you know, now in high school can, you know, actually pursue this, and they've got the, you know, facility to do this. So, and, you know, I mean, as far as your vision goes, you know, for years I wanted to see more aviation on the field. I wanted to see an avionics shop, you know, repair shop.
And
You know,
it's
and-
nothing more than what I want.
Yeah, no, so I would love to see, you know, you continue to expand and grow the business, and, you know, hopefully, you know, you can make those things, you know, happen in the future, you know, and I think, you know, working hand in hand, I know, you know, you can't really see, you know, a lot now, but, you know, part of, you know, what Janelle was presenting, you know, I mean, she's, you know, really thinking outside of the box and bringing some other opportunities that hopefully in the future, you know, we can partner with and, you know, grow together. So, yeah, so thank you for that.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Thanks again, Matt. Appreciate
Any
it.
other
Thank you.
comments for Matt? Hearing none, thank you for appearing tonight in your
Yeah.
presentation and all the things that you're doing at the airport, and keep it up. And I think Mr. Athels indicated we're willing to work with you in any way we can to improve the airport, and good luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our next item, which is public comment. Any public comment? No public comment. We will move on to our next item, which is the approval of the September 15th, 2025. If you want to well, I think you need to come up there so people can hear you. Want to introduce yourself?
I do. My name is Brent Ropke, and you need an address too?
Sure.
It's 10033 Grow Road, right down the street. I just have being absent from the island for 13 years. At one time, and maybe I should know this, the Airport Commission owned some property and buildings across the street. I have some friends in the medical business have asked me to ask if there's still space available for a small manufacturing facility, just to have some handicapped laborers put together. Since I spent 50 years in the hospital business, to re-enter that and look at a small place for mostly mentally disabled or handicapped people to put together hospital packs and trays, little things that suture removal kits, that kind of stuff. So small, and how much it would be. And I was just curious because I got the email within the last, well, the conversation within the last 30 days. Just an open-ended question. If there's space available for lease, what it would cost roughly monthly. And since I've been gone for 13 years and just remember some things from the past, who to talk to regarding that.
Person that you want to talk to is Janelle.
Okay,
Here, and she can tell you what space we have available and what our rental rates
it
are.
wouldn't be big. It'd probably be, 1,000, 2,000 square feet. Employ maybe 100 people.
A lot of people,
Out of town
2,000
people.
square feet. Yes, I would. That's my first thought, but sure.
I mean, I
Just want
can,
to know.
yeah, if I can answer that question
Okay.
really quickly. At this time, we do not have 1,000 square feet to 2,000 square feet available at this time.
Okay, what is
So
the
what I
small?
would, yep, so what I would recommend is if you can, send me an email, let me know what you're looking for, and I can, keep you on the waiting list is
Well, we can
probably the
discuss
best.
it if it's smaller then. What do you have basically available?
Nothing for anything light manufacturing at this time.
So that answers that question.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
However, if we're able to have our liaison from the township board be successful in getting us some money to build 4 units that are ready to go, we'll have your pick of 4. Right, Bill?
Okay, well, we're just looking 30,000 foot view, that type of thing, and, I have some long-term friends in that kind of business with those kind of skills. So I just wondered.
And-
Please get in touch with Janelle and
Okay.
make sure she has your
I have
information.
Janelle's number, I have her
Yep.
email.
Yep,
I see her at Kroger, so, fine, thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank
For your
you.
time.
Brett, you didn't bring any meat?
If you get there quickly, off, am I off camera?
Brett works for Kroger's in the meat department.
Still have barbecue ribs on sale for.
All right, there you go.
Okay, our next item is the approval of the minutes of the September 15th, 2025 meeting, general meeting.
Move approval.
Motion by Mr. Rathel. Second. Supported by Mr. Hornby to approve the minutes as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of our September 2025 financial report. And we have in our packet that our budgeted revenue for the year is $1,587,694. Our year-to-date revenue is $683,138, which equals 43% of our budget. Our expenditures are budgeted at the same $1,587,694. Our year-to-date expenses and encumbrances is $489,470, and that is 31% of our budget. Our capital reserves as of the end of September is $911,727, and our past due rent as of October 8th is $13,422.
Incredible. Good job, guys.
Is there any comments or questions on the budget? On our financial report? There are none. I entertain a motion.
About halfway through.
Yep. 2 million by the end of the year, or by the end of fiscal year.
Time to have conversations and figure out how we're gonna spend it, right?
You know, it's because of this commission and its business sense of looking at the finances of the airport very closely and making sure all of our leases are negotiated fairly and that people pay their fair share is what did it.
With that, I move we accept the budget presentation
Support.
as presented.
Motion by Mr. Loftus, supported by Mr. Rathel to approve the financial report for September 2025. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Our next item is our action items, and the first item is the approval of the Fresh Water Technology LLC lease agreement renewal. We have before us a resolution that reads, the Airport Commerce Park Commission of the Township of Groseal. Oh, nope, that's the wrong. Based on the recommendation of the Groseal Airport Commerce Park Manager, the Groseal Airport Commerce Park Commission hereby approves the renewal of the lease between the Groseal Airport and the Freshwater Technologies LLC.
I'll move that.
Got a motion by Mr. Rathel,
And I'll support it. I'll second it.
supported by Mr. Loftus. And this is for a lease for a term starting on November 1st, 2025 for 36 months. Rental rate is $3,700 with a 3% CPI increase beginning on November 1st, 2025. It is for approximately 6,600 square feet, located at 9510 Grow Road, Building 61. Is there any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I make a comment. This is a great tenant. They're really providing a good service to the community with that U-Haul. It worked out perfectly being next to that storage center, and great asset.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we have a motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by Mr. Loftus. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next action item is the approval of the Michigan Department of Transportation Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act agreement. We have a recommendation that reads, based upon the recommendation from the Grosville Airport Commerce Park Manager, the Grosville Airport Commerce Park Commission hereby approves a contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act agreement. The estimated total project cost is $448,788.
Well, excuse me. Based on what we learned at the presentation, I move we approve the,
IJA,
the IAJA,
yeah.
IAJA project.
Support. Got a motion
Yeah.
by Mr. Loftus, supported by Mr. Filarski to approve the agreement with the Michigan Department of Transportation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Move into our discussion items, our manager's report. Janelle?
Just a couple of reminders. We are teaming up with the Recreation Department again for this year's trunk or treat, which will be happening tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. I don't have anything for the vintage market, but once again, that's November 2nd, which is Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And yeah. Oh, there we go. And then working with the Nature and Land Conservancy, they're doing an evening lantern hike in the airport nature area on November 9th between 5:30 and 7. And then they also wanted me to mention that their annual membership meeting will be held November 8th at the Graceville Golf and Country Club from 10:30 to noon, and doors open at 10 a.m. I'll make the rest of this quick. But I did meet with DIA last week to talk about the potential mural. It looks like we are going to be awarded that opportunity to have the mural over on the small building over there that we've been talking about. There was discussions and preparing that building for mural readiness, and it turns out that the tenant that's currently there is going to be helping get that building prepared for the mural. So he is going to help do some window repairs and do some tuck pointing on the building for preparation for that. So thank you to him. And just want to mention that one thing I didn't when I was talking as far as this eIPP grant goes and leveraging the DTE grant. I've been in communication with another airport to see if there is going to be some sort of collaboration for this grant that was just released for another pilot project. And who knows where it's going to go, but there's, continuing meetings to have this conversation to see what type of pilot project we can do with the other airport, which would be state to state, maybe being a little bit more competitive for this grant. So more to come on that. I don't know where that's going to lead us, but the good news is that the conversations after the first discovery meeting are continuing. So maybe some excitement for a grant that we may get for another pilot project opportunity.
Great, let us know.
And then, just as we're winding down and gearing up for the winter season, I once again want to thank my seasonal staff and what a great, our staff, our maintenance staff is just on point. They really do a really nice job in maintaining all of our buildings and all of our infrastructure, like everything. They're just amazing. So they're winding down on grass cutting, they're preparing for the winter season, maintaining all of their equipment and making sure that we have everything we need for the upcoming snow removal in the winter months. They've cleaned the gutters and changed furnace filters. I mean, you name it, they've done it. And I just really want to, thank them. And they look outside of the box too, and as far as saving energy cost and starting to look into options to switch things from the incandescent lights across the street and working with our tenants over there to change from the incandescents to LED lights, which ultimately will cut down on our electricity over there. And with that being said, the continued removal of the trees is probably gearing up for the winter months, so more to come on that with my subcommittee meeting. My subcommittee, what do we call you guys? My subcommittee people. But so we have been working on the process to, be in compliance with our navigation aids and safety here at the airport. But other than that, that's all the report. I'm done.
If you can pass on to the maintenance people that we appreciate everything that they do, and it's always good that people go over and above what's expected, and I think they do that. So please pass that along to them.
Will do.
We'll move on to our next item, which is our subcommittee reports. We have none tonight. Commission members, is there any open business? Anyone have any business they'd like to bring up?
If I could just make a comment, I was assisted Janelle at the MAP meeting at 2 points. Janelle was so well prepared that she kind of had the people on the other end of the camera were just kind of baffled. Like, wow, she is bowling us over with information and preparation. My other comment is, with 50 years of aviation, I have never seen so many acronyms incorporated into one presentation. Stop, explain that to me. We used to require the first time you used an acronym, you had to spell out what it meant. Well, that didn't happen in the civilian world. Anyway, Janelle knew them all, so she covered for me. So good job, Janelle. Thanks.
Thank you.
All you needed to know, is it a go or no go?
I wish it were that simple. But.
Anything else? Hearing none, move on to the next item, which is the chair report. I have nothing new to report tonight, so if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by
Second.
Mr. Filarski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries.